Hi everyone! Today we're going to be talking a little bit about rock musical theater and what singers need to prepare in their voices or think about in their voices when they're singing rock musical theater songs. The first thing I talk about is registration, and this is really important to me because we're talking a lot about a high mix. I think about 4 registers. We have our chest voice, our head voice, our low mix, and our high mix. And really contemporary commercial music is pushing our high mix to its limits and going higher and higher as we work on different songs, and I see more new pieces coming out in musical theater, particularly. I'm going to start with 2 songs and we'll just examine them from a vocal perspective. The first one will be for females, Come to Your Senses, from Tick, Tick, Boom by Jonathan Larson. Jonathan Larson is the composer of Rent, so that is what he's most famous for, and this is another one of his shows, a 3-person musical called Tick, Tick, Boom. And I'm going to do just a little bit of the ending, a nice cut of the song called Come to Your Senses. I'll sing it first, and then I'll talk a little bit about the technique that goes into executing this type of song. Come to your senses, suspense is fine. If you're just an empty image emanating out of a screen, baby, be real, you can feel again. You don't need a music box melody to know what I mean. Come to your senses. Come to your senses. Come to your senses. Baby, come back alive. So I'm going to look at just a few sections of that. The first thing I talked about is your high mix. This goes to a C. There are songs that go even higher than that. I know I've seen songs with Ds, E flats, E's, and even F's. So it can get to what we call a super belt. But for now, we're going to focus on this song, which I think is attainable for a lot of our female singers out there. If it feels difficult to sing, or you feel like you're straining, or it hurts your throat to sing, please stop and try to do a warm-up before you jump into this. And I should have prefaced by saying that I'm not doing any warm-up today, and I'm jumping in to the most challenging part of these 2 songs. So I would advise you to do your own warm-up at home with some hums, some lip trills, really working through your different registers and making sure everything's working before you jump into these challenging sections. So we talk about registration. A lot of times that means we're taking our head voice and our mixed voice and mixing them together. And for us, the high mix has a little bit more head voice in it than chest. It's not a power, right? We don't want to get stuck here in our throat pushing on our chords. So when I do something like, come to your senses, suspense is fine. Suspense, that suspense is a big jump, and we want it to be clear, right? So you'll notice that I'm letting my lower notes be a little lighter on purpose because I want to not get suspense is fine. See how I'm jumping between? If I can go suspense is fine, then I'm already there. Then we need to make sure we get enough breath to get through screen. If you're just an empty image emanating out of a screen. And E's are great mixed notes, right? We like E's. E, without it getting too E, all right? Sometimes I've noticed I have some singers that carry a lot of nasality, which basically is lifting your larynx up, and we get too forward and too bright, right? So I certainly am not encouraging a dark sound. That's not what I prefer, and it's not what is called for in rock music, but we want to think about making sure it's not too, right? We want it to have just the right amount of edge. Suspense is fine. If you're just an empty image emanating out of a screen. And you'll notice this piece has a lot of slides. It has a little of what we might call a riff. Now, these riffs are musically notated in the sheet music that I'm looking at, but they can have some flexibility, and you, the singer, can have a little bit of your own style, add your own flair to it, if you will, when we're singing. I'm going to jump to the end a little bit because I think that's the part we want to focus on. So we have come to your senses. Just let that be light. Come to your senses. And notice my mouth opens, right? I can't be sis. That would be too close. Sis would be too open, right? So we want to have just the right mouth formation with a little, again, lifting our soft palate. Senses. And then we go right into the same note. Come to your senses. Senses. I'm letting that fall, but fall on pitch with the notes. It's very important to me that we don't senses. Sometimes when we have a riff, whether it's notated in the music or we're creating it on our own, we let ourselves just slide through the notes too quickly, and then I don't hear the correct pitch. So it's important that we still can hear those pitches. Come to your senses. And then you're going to breathe before baby come back. And again, the next come has a lot of notes on it as well. Baby come back. And I like back being short and back. I hit that note and I give a little k to give me that edge to my voice. And then alive is a big octave jump. So when we give that jump, same thing. I don't make the part 2 chest. I don't go la, right? Then you can hear the jump. I want to make it a little more smooth and seamless. Alive. And you look at my mouth formation. Most of the time in rock music, we want straight tone singing. We want no vibrato. Occasionally, and maybe this last note is an example, I will give straight tone to start and then add a little vibrato to even out the sound and give it that little fizz or buzz that we like to hear. It's very appealing to the audience, and you as the singer can usually feel something right behind your eyes and you're like, ooh, that's it, that's the right spot, and I like feeling my voice there. So we're just gonna do that alive one more time. Alive! And I'll just let go of the note. Great, so that's just one song, a good way to work those C's because there's quite a few in this song, and that's a note we would like to have secure in our toolbox so that we could go alive and go a little higher. Alive! Even higher, right? That's not the note in this song at all. I'm just stretching us and thinking about how do I get that octave leap with my voice still in a mix register. Awesome. I'm going to move on to my second song, and I'm going to look at Step 1 from Kinky Boots, a rock musical with words and music by Cyndi Lauper. And this is a male song. This is written for a high tenor voice. So if you are a baritone, this probably is not going to feel very comfortable in your range, so it might not be the best repertoire choice for you. There are other songs out there, other rock songs and rock musical theater songs that would better fit your voice type. And that's true really of all music. It's finding specific pieces for you. But I'm going to examine this one, and I'm going to start at the key change, the last chorus of when we may be facing the impossible. We may be facing the impossible. We may be chasing after miracles, and there may be the steepest mountain to overcome. But this is step 1. Look what Johnny Boy has done. This is step 1. And I'm going to jump right in and start on that last phrase. This is step 1. Tricky phrase. You're hitting a high A natural. That is definitely a tenor note, and we want that A natural to be strong and secure and focused and on pitch. Remember, I talked a little bit about a bullseye, and we want to make sure that that pitch is in the center of the bullseye, not off to the side, because we can really hear when we are off pitch. It is a little bit of a leap. This is only a perfect fifth leap, but we still want to make sure that when we do that leap, whether it's an octave, a fifth, a sixth, something like that, that we are lifting our soft palate as we go up, that our soft palate is pliable and flexible. This is step 1. And I want to make sure that we're saying 1. That lyric is 1, not wa, right? So we need to give a consonant, and sometimes ending a consonant on a high note can be a little tricky. And what I like this to recommend doing is lifting off the note, letting it lift, as opposed to pulling back or cracking off the note or things like that that are not great for us as singers and also just not appealing to the audience, not right for this song. And the other thing is my mouth shape. Again, I've got kind of an open 1 with a little lift. Not too bright, not too forward, but certainly not this open sound. When I was younger, I used to be taught open mouth, open throat. I used to do a lot of choir and choral work. And so I would go 1. And then I noticed, it wasn't working for a lot of the contemporary music that I was singing, but also it wasn't visually appealing when I saw myself in photos when my mouth was wide open, my jaw was completely dropped. It's awesome to have a nice relaxed open jaw, but we still want to have a little oomph, and it looks better if we can just lift a little. This is step 1. And that N, we can either let it drop, you can just let go and lift off. Sometimes you might have a director that asks you for a growl. These are all stylistic things that happen in rock music and really can be a director or a music director's choice. Could also be the singer's choice, right? So if you have ideas and can bring your own spin to the piece and your own style to the piece, I think that's awesome. Let's do that last phrase one more time. And remember, we just want to lift our palate, have our mouth looking nice and round with a little oomph in our cheeks. This is step 1. And there you go. A little bit earlier in the song, I sang in there maybe the steepest mountain, that phrase. I give a little overcome. And that has a little slide, a little edge to it. Sometimes I growl a little on come before I let go of that consonant. So I'm going to do that right there. And there may be the steepest mountain to overcome, but this is step 1. And that definitely has a lot of style to it, a lot of personal inflection, right? 1. And I'm giving it that oomph on purpose, right? It's okay to do things with our voice like close off the note or the vowel, because if it's a personal choice or a stylistic choice, right? If we're doing it on purpose as opposed to I'm cracking because I don't quite have that note, or I'm pulling back on the note because, again, I just don't know how to release it in a really open way. And a lot of times I talk about the rock voice being strong, confident, open, right? I'll do things like opening my arms to let the sound out, right? Because we want it to be a stronger sound, especially in these pieces. They're not ballads. They're not soft and light. They have a lot of oomph and power. So we want to bring that to all of our work. So again, I just want to focus on making sure we get a lot of breath. I know I didn't talk about that today, but making sure you have the air to get through the phrases is of most importance. I want to talk about making sure we understand registration and where our voice is being placed, right? Based on your register, based on your personal voice type and range. I also want to make sure we can add some stylistic components to our rock music so that we are able to really have an impact, right? I feel like I love commercial, contemporary musical theater, and we want to have an impact with our voice and with the way we're using our voice to tell a story to the audience and tell our story. Until next time, keep on singing, everyone.